Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks! What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another short little unboxing video to share with you guys. Just an unboxing and first impressions, not a review today, but we have two knives from Artisan Cutlery. I believe variations of things that they've released in the past, but I did enjoy both models, so I'm interested to see what they've got. As per usual, I will link these right down below in the description so that you guys can check them out if you want to. It really does help my channel when you use those links, but that's up to you. Thanks to Artisan Cutlery for sending these in. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me. Let's go ahead and open these up one at a time here. They are both still sealed, so I haven't actually seen, I know what they are, but I haven't actually seen them yet. Still recovering from a very long, it was like a full family. Everybody but my son got sick, and I'm in the linger stage of all of this. So I'm fine, but it's just like all the stuff that like you're left with for the following weeks. So this first one here is a sand polished version of the Revel, which we know, if you watch my channel, the sand polishing can be anywhere from extremely spectacular to kind of lackluster. I feel like I have handled this exact version of the knife before, but the Revel is a nice model. It's textured right here, so we have this sort of expanding, kind of tapered texturing, or I don't know if you want to call it it's like a starburst frag almost, and then you have the parameters in right here. S90V almost certainly. No, AR RPM 9, which would be the deal there. Instead of this being an S90, it's funny that CJRB is doing both sides of this. Excuse me. I'm still part of this. The symptoms of what I've had here lately is extreme fatigue. So I'm doing my best. The caffeine in my system is counteracting this. I'm doing my best, but man, I get out of breath really quickly. We have both within the CJRB and Artisan Cutlery lineup. We have both knives that have very inexpensive handle materials and very expensive blade materials, which I think is probably a better value. On the flip side of that, for people who absolutely have to have titanium but don't want to pay a bunch of money, we have materials like AR RPM 9, which is 100% a budget blade steel, combined with titanium. This looks, well, so here's an example. I'm going to be honest with you. Artisan Cutlery, I like your knives. This is an example of a sand polished blade that is indistinguishable from a satin blade. Sand polish should be something special. It should be something that stands out from satin. I have examples of your knives, including my own Satyr, which is the best sand polished blade I've ever seen. I mean, it is hyper high polished. You guys have got to get that consistent because it is all over the place. But yeah, so, and I know people say, oh, it depends on the blade steel. That's probably why it looks different, because it's AR RPM 9. No, I have examples of AR RPM 9 that look like this, and AR RPM 9 that's sand polished that are hyper polished, right? Same with steels like S90V, which is going to be a composition that's probably going to be a little harder to polish correctly. I've got S90V in, that super, super high polish, very reflective, and also S90V, all, in video on this channel, S90V that looks, it's labeled as sand polish, but looks indistinguishable from a satin finish. So really, I've been saying this for months now. We got to get that consistent. The model itself, it's a Ray Laconico knife. So those always tend to be, very classic designs, but they tend to be very good, like very straightforward and, very aesthetically pleasing to a wide variety of different types of people. It's a good looking model, assuming they get a decent price. Like, I'd love to see this under $100. I think that'd be great, right? The further under 100, the better. But I don't know at the exact moment. By the time you guys are watching this, I'll have linked it, which means I know. But I'll invite you to check those links so you can see the price on that one. And then this one is the Satyr. Same thing. So we're going budget, or what's the right term for, like, what do we call knives that are not quite, under $75? But they're still like intended to be a lower priced item. I almost said semi-budget. That doesn't make any sense. So anyways, this is also sand polished, apparently. Love the texturing on this guy, for sure. Yeah, same thing. Hold on a second. So I'm actually gonna cut the video. I want to show you guys what I'm talking about here. Okay, I found it. So what I have here is my original S90V. Again, I know people are gonna say this is RPM 9. The finish different. No. I have video evidence on this channel showcasing AR RPM 9 and S90V in both high polish and indistinguishable from satin, right? Both labeled as sand polish, proving that there is just a variation in terms of quality control when it comes to this finish. And the fact that it can get so good is what is so frustrating to me, especially because Artisan Cutlery does a really good job of providing premium materials, right, or appropriate premium materials or appropriate materials by price. They do a good job of really standing out, right? Like their S90V in titanium for $200. That's great, right? When I see something like this, again, here's AR RPM 9 sand polish. Wow, looks satin, right? Here's S90V sand polish. What? Crazy. To this day, I've kept this so that I can always provide an example. This is the best sand polish finish I've ever seen from them. And a couple that I have received have been close to that, maybe 95 to 99%, right? This is amazing. Artisan Cutlery, these are great models. These are great. And I'm sure that they're priced appropriately, right? Not everybody's going to be like, busting down doors for titanium and AR RPM 9, but there will be some people. We have to remember that knives are very rarely intended for everyone. Knives are, when it comes to the handle material and the blade material, are usually for small percentages within groups of the knife community, right? So if you're thinking, who's that for? I don't want, budget steel with my titanium frame. Somebody probably does. In fact, it's not really that hard to imagine that somebody would be like, I don't really care if the blade steel is something special. I just want to have titanium, right? Okay, it's fine. Artisan Cutlery. These are great models. I'm sure they're priced correctly. But if you're going to advertise the sand polish, which is, by the way, a pretty unique and special finish, right? If it's not for you, if you're like, I don't like reflective things, fine, right? But it gives people a reason to pick up your knives over other knives at competitive prices. You offer something specific that we don't see necessarily all over the place. AR RPM 9 and titanium for, ideally under $100. Maybe I'm way off. And at the same time, if you actually offered a finish like this on your blades at that price, that's definitely going to draw people in. But this is just satin. This is satin. It should be labeled that way. There's got to be a way to get that process consistent, right? It would be, there are plenty of like the different finishes that we see at varying price points, right? That are really, really impressive, right? Like your high polish finish that comes on some of the Spyderco Taichung Taiwan models, right? That's a reason that a lot of people pick up, for example, the Paisan. Now, I know you guys are going to say that's not fair. That knife is like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars. But still, though, imagine you've seen all these different, content creators and reviewers showcasing that beautiful finish that comes on the Paisan. Personally, that was one of the reasons that I picked it up. That's one of the reasons I overpaid for it, right? Imagine that there was a massive variation in those finishes, right? Which is, I don't care who you are. Again, definitely one of the reasons that people are so drawn to that. And other models that are, that come out of the Taichung Taiwan factory sporting or advertising that same finish. Imagine you have a massive variation in reflectivity. Probably going to make some people a little bit irritated. Probably not as irritating, right? The potential for people to get upset is much lower considering we're looking at a much lower price tag. But you guys are missing out here. There's an opportunity. What? How can you call these the same finish? It's not. It's not. So I like the idea, the AR RPM 9, right? I think that combined with titanium, that's fine because that's going to appeal to some people. But you guys have got to get this sand polish thing down. It's a cool finish, right? And if you're wondering, if you're thinking like, who cares? There's no utilitarian benefit. They're just making it shiny. Why do you care? That's wrong. There is a benefit to higher polishing. It's not a new thing, and it's not something that's specifically for embellishment. It's not exclusive to pocket jewelry. A high polished finish on a blade dates back hundreds, if not thousands of years. The idea being that you polish away moisture traps, right? So take two identical blades. I've explained this many, many times. Two identical blades. They're both the same steel, the same geometry, the same blade shape, right? And you bead blast one and you mirror polish the other. The mirror polished one is going to have better corrosion resistance, even if it's the exact same composition. Why? Because there are less areas of the knife. In fact, I mean, a mirror polished blade is essentially going to have no moisture traps on the blade. Versus a bead blasted, would be like, imagine the surface of the moon, right? Pockmarked to all hell. Not exactly, but that's what you're doing. You're making little indentations. So the higher polished a blade, number one, you are reducing the the opportunity for moisture to get trapped in the blade. Obviously, it's in combination with the composition, right? If it's a stainless composition, it's really going to be good at that. But you're increasing the corrosion resistance. You're also reducing drag, right? So again, something that's going to create friction, something that's like acid washed, your rougher stone wash, you're blasting, right? That's going to increase friction versus something that's super smooth, like mirror polishing. So if you're under the impression that a higher polish or a mirror polish is pure embellishment and there's no benefit to it, extremely wrong. There is a benefit. And a lot of the reason that people shy away from stuff like that is because they're worried that it's going to scratch up really bad. Yeah, if you're, constantly passing the blade through stuff that's like ultra abrasive, if you're dragging it across concrete, for sure. But I guess it just depends on how you feel about marks on your blade. Assuming you're going to use it a lot, like that's just part of using a pocket knife, you're going to get marks on it. So if you like the idea of a mirror polish aesthetically, but you hate the idea of how a mirror polished blade or a high polished blade will look after using it for a long time, and, okay, then you want to pick up a finish that's going to, look better over time, like something that's stone washed after you use it. Personally, I don't really care. I think the finish will look good either way, right? I think if you really dedicate to using a knife, I think that, marks and things like as much, I'm a collector, so as much as I appreciate, we're going off on a tangent here, but as much as I appreciate keeping certain knives completely and totally pristine, there are knives that I use all the time, and I kind of like the aesthetic character that comes along with a blade that's used. I don't really care what the base finish is, right? If it's a user, then I identify it mentally as a user, so it doesn't really need to be, it's pretty in a different way. Does that make sense? So I guess that's something you have to kind of work out for yourself. But anyways, a lot of potential here, a lot of potential. Artisan Cutlery has come a long ways in terms of fit and finish in general, right? Their finish work, like on the blades, has always been like they've always offered, satin finishes and tumbled finishes, and they do a decent job. But we're definitely transitioning into a time where a high polish, high reflectivity, or even mirror polish blades are nowhere near as rare as they used to be. And mark my words, over the next 2 years, we will definitely see production mirror finishes down in this territory, this general price point. QSP has already proven that it's possible at a much higher, not quite a full mirror, but very, very close, right? So between $100 and $300, that's what I expect to see. Artisan Cutlery, this is a really nice finish. You got to get that. You got to get that straightened out. These are cool knives, and actually 2 knives from Artisan Cutlery that are from the last year or so that are really, really nice. I like both the knives. I think they're really neat. The finish thing. I know this is a ranty episode. We got to get that down. Okay. Anyways, these individual products will be listed down in the description. You guys can check them out. That's going to be it. I think I've got reviews on all this stuff anyway, so there's really no reason to review, a version of this knife that's just slightly different. But that's going to be it today. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.